Hello, everyone, and welcome to this conversation presented by White House Custom Color.
Are you trying to mute me? No, it's just real loud, and I can't.
I sold Amazon when it was $25.
Listening to listen, not listening to respond.
Yes. Oh, thank you for that. I was pleasantly surprised by your topic. I've read it like 30 times.
Gosh. I sent it to you and I was like, does this make sense? Does this combination of words actually make sense?
It's funny. Different things resonate, different things resonate with you, with anyone, just in general. And I read it and I was like, oh, I think I know what she means. And then I read it again and I was like, oh, I'm quite certain I know what she means. It was almost like there was part of me that didn't want to understand it.
Yes. You know what's weird is when I sent it to you, I kind of hated it. Like I was like, oh, I don't know if I want to talk about this. Like it sounds a little too real. It sounds too,
yeah,
like
real.
And does it take away from being a professional to even acknowledge that? Oh, it was a whole. I went and told my husband what I said, and he was like, you couldn't have picked anything else? And I was like, well, it just came out of my mouth. I typed it, and then I was like, oh, shoot.
It's like, can't we just talk about marketing?
Yes. I'll tell you all about Instagram, even though I'm probably failing on that front. It's fine. I'll tell you all about it.
Okay, well, I want to dive in because the suspense of just chatting is killing me, and I want to just jump into it. So
yes,
let's start with the formalities. Tell me who you are and where you are and what you do and all the stuff.
I am Anj Olson. I'm in Ankeny, Iowa. I should just say Des Moines. Nobody cares about Ankeny, unless, sorry if you do. I am a portrait photographer, newborn children, family. I think families because they belong to children, but I prefer children.
You do? Okay.
I do. And I've recently started getting into branding, but I think where my heart really lies is connection and relationship. And so I've kind of realized that no matter what the session is, if I can connect, I'm in love. If I can't connect, I'm a little bit like, I don't know what to do with you.
Well said. I want to jump off of that for just a little bit because that sparked interest in me, and plus I'm stalling a little bit to get to the real topic that we're going to discuss. But let's discuss that connection piece just real fast.
Yeah.
What sort of things are you intentional with to connect with your clients? Because I think it's very true. In fact, a lot of times I think that comes through the imagery, that connection piece. And it's I don't know, you can't, is it one of those, what is it? Je ne sais quoi? Like you can't really put your finger on it, but if you can see an image and like get that, right?
Yes, absolutely. And it's the first thing I love. And I can tell when I don't achieve that. And that is heart-wrenching to me.
Yes.
And it immediately makes me want to call the client and say, hey, I messed up.
Do over.
We need to
Do-over.
reshoot this. And from a financial perspective, everything in me is like, don't do this, don't do it. But it feels so uncomfortable to not get it.
You don't get that. It's so interesting to hear and to hear kind of laid out that way. So going into a session, I'm assuming, I'm making an assumption here that you go in with that mindset and there's some intentionality into maybe some things you do or say, like, how do you handle that? How do you make that happen? Because it's also one of those things that you don't want it to be like forced.
No, and I don't think I could force it if I tried. You can tell if I'm uncomfortable. There's not even it's like everything in me freezes and they're like, you okay? You need a whiskey? Something?
Are you okay?
But I have to meet with them beforehand, which I know that everyone does a consultation, but I call what I do a collaboration because I need them to know that it's not just me. Like I am an artist, yes, but I cannot do it without them. And So there's a lot of intentionality in, okay, I'm going to be real with you. This is what I need to photograph you well. But what I need from you is for you to bare your soul.
Just that.
Just tell me everything. And sometimes it turns into a weird therapy session, but by the end of it, we are like best friends.
Yeah.
I can't even say that there's a client that has entered the studio that has not become a dear friend of mine.
So you're building a rapport up front during a collaboration, not a consultation. I've never heard that before. I love that. And you're basically listening or
just listening.
Yeah, like being.
Sometimes I tell them things about myself to allow them to open up, because I don't think that people will open up to you until you give them something.
You model it. Yep.
Yes. So there's a little bit of me telling them about my life, who I am, why I started the studio, and then asking them questions. And slowly we get there. Usually there's some sort of tears, which always just really excites me, because I love seeing vulnerability. Like they're probably like, man, she's so joyful and I'm so sad. It's just like, there's something.
I have discovered that it's amazing what most people will do when you give them a little bit of space and they feel safe, right? What they will do in an environment like that. So I find that most people have so much to say, and I think don't feel as though they have the space to say it very often, but it's there.
Oh, totally agree. And there's societal prerequisites of what you say.
Yeah, also that. Yep.
When you ask someone what it feels like to be a mom, their first response is, oh, it's a joy, it's a gift, and I'm so happy to be a mom. And I'm like, all right, I know. But
and
also,
what else?
Yes.
Right.
Like, how does it feel to you? Are you struggling? Is it, like what? And even from a portrait perspective, it's that, again, that prerequisite that you get smiling pictures and smile equals beautiful. And I'm like, I don't believe that. My oldest, you tell him to smile and it's a complete meltdown, because he has anxiety over like, how much should I smile?
Oh, yeah.
I don't feel like smiling.
Yeah.
And then there was one shoot, he just ran away crying, like literally. And I was like, no, he's not a smiler.
Right. And
so
children don't like being inauthentic. It doesn't sit well with them.
No. Right.
Interesting.
And I don't want adults to feel comfortable being inauthentic. You shouldn't feel comfortable. No.
You don't want to encourage that behavior either.
No, don't smile at me unless I say something weird, which often happens. So that's fine too.
So well said. That is I love hearing that. Do me a favor though, because this is what's coming into my mind now. Give me a taste of what it looks like when that goes wrong, when that goes off the rails, because I imagine that being in those scenarios doesn't always work well. Like you said it earlier, you're like, I don't know what to do with you. Like, how do you handle it when it goes south?
Oh, that's purely, there's a minute of where you like blank out and it's like total silence. And then it's like you kick into the fake it mode, because you're like, okay, you can tell they're slightly freaking out.
It's not going to happen.
You're inwardly freaking out. And then you decide, okay, in my mind, the thought process is, what am I best at fixing? And what do I have to do right now?
Okay.
So what's going to calm me down? Do I need to separate the family out and composite?
Mm-hmm.
Do I need to focus on, and how much can I fix in post? Because a lot of it is, I'm fully aware that my emotions have left. And so
you go into like a robot automatron mode and just try to make sure that you're getting what it is you feel you can get and what you need in order for it to be considered as successful as possible, the session.
Yes.
Yeah.
And foundational wise, I think I've gotten to the point in my technical career or whatever, where that's not what I'm concerned about.
You don't have to worry about that part.
No.
Right.
And that's that's huge. That is such a weight to not have to worry about whether it will be beautiful, but more worry about, okay, I need a minute. I need to give myself margin.
Yeah.
It's either snack time, it's we keep going, or it is literally, I need a whiskey. There's whiskey everywhere. I'm not a drunk, but there's whiskey everywhere.
I believe you. I believe you on both of those counts.
I don't know if I should say that. My husband was like, say less. That's all he said. Like,
I hear that a lot, though. I hear that all the time. Hey, don't talk as much as you do or share as much as you do. And I don't know where to stop.
I don't know either. This might not be safe.
Okay. Well, we can always edit this. It's time. I think it's time. I think I'm ready. I have built up the courage. I am going to read what you wrote. I don't do this very often, but I want to read what you wrote for anyone who's listening or watching's benefit. You said, how do you feel about discussing professional aspirations that are beyond what your life can currently manage, but also reconfiguring your idea of success to truly reflect who you are with the acknowledgement that you're working towards something bigger?
Whew.
Right, lots of stuff. But I bet there's plenty of people that even hearing that just initially, there's something in them that's like, yep, I want to know more. Tell me more about that. So let's start with the first. There's kind of two different premises there. There's two different topics in there. They're related. But let's tackle the first one, discussing professional aspirations that are beyond what your life can currently manage. Ooh. Like, all right, just unpack it. I'm ready.
So, oh gosh, man. Okay, this all stemmed from, I have 3 boys. Mm-hmm. They are 7, 5, and 3. I adore them. But in all honesty, being a mother is equally on par to being a creative. So I could not, there was no option for me to choose one or the other.
Okay,
and I see.
Right.
I think some people can make that choice, and it's an easy choice. It's one or the other. That wasn't an option for me. Mm-hmm. So, but I am a high goal person. I want to achieve as much of my potential in every scenario. So my life limits that.
Because you have 3 boys, for one thing.
Yeah.
For one thing. I mean, there's other limiting factors too, but those 3 boys are a really big deal. So what do you feel has not occurred that you really wanted to or want to occur still that hasn't because of that piece where you're 100% creative and 100% mom?
Time and connection. Those are the 2 things. So what I realized very early on is that, and this is not a statement saying money is not important. Money is very important. I value my time and I price myself accordingly. But what I crave more and what my soul really fills up with is getting to meet with my clients, be with my clients, photograph my clients, and see their joy when they see their portrait. Like the entire process is my favorite part. So when people ask me, you need to outsource, you need to do this, I don't know what to take out because I love being linked to every part.
So when someone says, what do you like the best? You say yes. Mm-hmm.
Yes, totally.
Yep.
And I love the people. I love people. And so what I'm finding is in this season of life, I cannot connect with people as much as I would like to because I'm constantly straddling that line of schedule, life, emotional health, and also being aware that those things are important. It's not okay to throw yourself completely into business and not be emotionally healthy and available.
I spoke to I think I've probably brought this up before on this podcast, but I spoke to somebody one time who came to a workshop that we kind of went off to the side. She had some things to ask me. I could tell it was like she wanted to talk to me about some things that she didn't want anybody else to hear. And she was like, you know what? I really want to open a studio, a storefront. She was in our studio and I think she was, fired up, which was not uncommon. And she was like, I have this spot and it's like 2,500 square feet. It's a couple miles away from my house. I believe she also had 3 boys and she really wanted to do this thing, but her boys were, I think, about your boys' age, maybe even a little younger. And I said, okay, I get the appeal, but understand something. You're going to have the equivalent of at least 3 more children. Like as far as your time and your efforts and your energy. And I said, so you have these 3 boys right now, but imagine what life is like with 3 more, like just like that. Because the reality of the situation is, to your point, we only have so much time. And she stood there and a tear just kind of felt like came down her cheek. And it was like she was starting to get it from maybe a different perspective, maybe a more realistic perspective rather than the glamorous perspective that we sometimes, hold on to. And she didn't do it. As far as I know, if I remember correctly, she didn't do it. And she just said, thank you for giving me that perspective, because I was all caught up in what I thought I wanted. And she did want it. It's not like that was fake. She did have that aspiration. But the reality of it is she's one person with the same amount of time that everybody else has. And she was a mother to 3 boys. And she was 100% mom too.
Yeah. And I think the other side of that is realizing that because you have those doesn't mean you don't get your dream. It means your dream is reshaped into what you can do. So
yes,
we purchased a home that had an outbuilding. My studio, what I envisioned for my studio was this gorgeous window lit, studio in one area, this and that, just this gorgeous building.
Yeah.
And in reality, what I have is a 20 by 30 outbuilding that we have remodeled, painted, done what we can do. But I have to rest on the fact that people don't book you for this.
Yeah.
They book you because of what you can do, what you see, who you are, and how you connect to them.
Yes.
Right.
Right.
And so I got so caught up for a while there in, I can't offer this. I don't have this. They're coming into a garage. And then I realized that not one client that has entered this space has mentioned any of that.
And they probably haven't thought it. It probably hasn't crossed their mind. Right. So I think it's interesting. You change from a kind of a negative perspective to a positive perspective, and you do that intentionally. In that, I'm not going to focus on the things that aren't. I'm going to focus on what is, right?
Exactly. And it does bring a joy to what you have, because now all of a sudden we probably have the financial means in the studio to build a new studio. Yeah. But I'm kind of like, why?
Right.
I mean, that same money could go towards a family vacation.
Right.
It could go towards time spent with the people I love. It could, I don't think work-life balance is necessarily a thing. I don't think it's a balance. I think it's a choice. I think you choose how you spend your time, and you kind of have to make hard decisions. I mean, so my studio started when the boys were young, really little.
Yeah.
But from that moment, even though I had a little bit more time, I said, this studio will only function on 4 sessions a month. And I will price myself for that.
You set that limit? Like you set that limit because of the time piece, because of the mom piece and the creative piece, right?
Yep. And I need time. I can't do what I do without margin. I am an extroverted introvert. If I don't have my alone time, I'm not great. So everything is spread out. And that started 10 years ago. And at that time I was like, oh my gosh, how am I going to exist on 4 sessions a month? But if I hadn't done that then, I don't think I would have been able to teach myself or give myself that margin that I now have.
Right. Right. Money and time.
And it's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. That was good. But now I want to talk about reconfiguring your idea of success to truly reflect who you are. And I feel like we're starting to dive into this part with the acknowledgement that you're working towards something bigger. So you just talked about how you have the money, you've saved up the money, you've accrued the money that if you wanted to, you could go the route that you thought you had initially envisioned in having this big, glorious, glamorous studio, right?
Mm-hmm.
What are you working towards that's bigger and at the same time tempering your current expectations of what life is and should be and can be? Like, what is the bigger? What's on the other side?
Oh man, I probably should have thought about the question before I posed it to you. Oh.
Well, and but see, it's fair enough. Maybe if it's not right there, maybe it isn't something that's real obvious right now because you're still focusing on the tempering part. Is that fair?
I think that is fair. I also think what I've again realized is that who I am and my joy, I seriously always thought I just wanted money. I really just thought finances, being wealthy, being a successful, that was success to me. And
money was success, yeah.
Yes. And I still agree. I think it's about where your money is going that is kind of changing my idea of success. I do want to make money, but I think that mom creative shift or like split is making me, I want that money to be used for our family and to help others. So we have goals I'm in Iowa. I sometimes struggle with the idea that there's this stereotype that Iowa probably is boring, farmer, like not a lot going on.
I'm from Illinois.
Yes, you get it.
Downstate Illinois, not Chicago.
Not the cool part. Just kidding. That's cool too.
Right. That's how it's perceived. To your point, that's how it's perceived. Right.
Yes. And I think my goals are to pour back into this community in a way that allows other creatives to flourish. And part of it was my husband and I have talked about investing in properties to be able to let creatives have a easier way to, there's so much money that goes into starting out.
Yeah.
But thinking about being able to do something from an investment perspective, mentorship, education. But I would like to be able to have a space, a larger studio space, not necessarily for just photography, but to be able to host workshops or things for working women, just to allow a space to be who you are and something else, maybe outside of photography, but still you be able to use my photography to help with that.
Is this okay? So 7, 5, and 3, right? Because I feel like I'm taking a leap here, and just correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like you had a perspective that success essentially meant money, right? I'm assuming that was more prevalent before you had children, and maybe that started to die off, or change or evolve, after you had your boys and they start to grow up, and it's amazing what kids do, and different people can have their perspectives rocked by different things, right? But there's no question that children do that. So you're in kind of like the thick of the mom phase right now, right? With 7, 5, and 3. Let's go 15 years from now. Your youngest is 18, right? He's a man, like legally and officially he's a man then, right? You're still a mom, but you don't have the same responsibilities. They've certainly shifted, and the burden is different, right? I won't say that there is no burden, because I always get corrected whenever I do that. It's just a different burden, right? But you certainly will have more time. Your time looks different in that piece that we keep going back to as far as time and commitment starts to change. How do you see your dreams or your aspirations shifting with that? How do they change with the fact that you start to get more time and your burden shifts with your children and it's different? What does that open up to?
I think it opens up, from a personal perspective, I think it opens up more time for introspection, creativity, being able to delve into other art forms. I was a charcoal drawer in college. I was a fine art charcoal. And there's avenues in that I really, I think from an artist perspective would love to delve back into. And that excites me. Like that really fills me with a little bit of like, oh man, being able to have time to actually think about what would I want to do.
Do you look at it as more, do you look at it as being free also to take more risks or not?
Yes, absolutely. And to figure out, there's a huge side of me that just wants to be more community oriented. But I think we're inward focused right now. And that's hugely pandemic related. That's
also that, yep.
Constantly putting out fires and trying to make sure our children are safe and our family's safe. But when you exit that, you know, what does that mean for being able to be more community led and involved? And I want our kids to see that, you know,
right.
I want them to grow up with the community versus selfish perspective. And I think
you're
that's
modeling
something lacking.
You're modeling for these three boys in their formative years right now, every day. That's a big piece. I hope so. And in 15 years, it's different. It's not like they're not still going to be looking to mom and dad for things, right? They will, but it's different than it is right now.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm hoping that the little clients that come through the studio, part of my process is I have gifts for the kids. I find out what their favorite things are. We have a moment at the end where I get to their level and I just say, thank you. Thank you for being you. I appreciate you. I know that some of this may have been hard, but I also hope you had fun. And it's been such a gift to know you. And I think my thing is like, I want them to know that when they come to be photographed, it's an honor for me.
Wow.
That they've let me. They're little, but they're humans and they're valued.
They get that. Don't you think they get it more than maybe we even give them credit for? Like the little ones even. Yes. Right?
Yes. And they can tell when when you don't adore them. Like they can totally, like if you don't, you got to find something, but they look at you like,
yeah, like, right. So good.
It's just,
that's so right on. I think that kids in general are so much more perceptive than we give them credit for, even at very young ages. 3, 4, 5 years old, there's so much more that they can really, and they might not be able to communicate it very well, but they get it, you know, when it's in here and you make that connection with them, that's going to be there. That's going to stay there. And the next time they come in, they're going to have that association. Don't you think?
Right. Yeah. And they'll be excited. And I think there's an idea that kids don't like being photographed. And I think that can be true.
Sure.
But I also think it's when there's an expectation placed on that they have to be someone they're not during the photo shoot.
Right. That's perfectly said.
That's something that is always talked about. If they want to wear a Batman watch or I don't know, different colored socks or something weird, I'm kind of on the side of, I know you want a beautiful formal portrait, but this is also your child.
Right.
Is it okay for them to be themselves?
Right.
Can I have your permission to allow them to be themselves? If you're really against it, I will help them to feel comfortable in whatever they're in.
Well, I mean, you want a portrait of your child when they're 3 or 4 years old and you want to really capture who they are. They haven't taken the Batman watch off for 18 months. And you're going to oh yeah, that Batman watch. When they're 30, you're going to be like, remember your Batman watch? To have that in the image, if that's really what's going on, can actually be a big deal later on.
Yeah.
I'm using that as an example, but it can be anything, right?
Right. I mean, my son, my 5-year-old has this koala that he named Quimsicle, and it's his Pokemon friend. It's this, it's tiny and I mean, for lack of better terms, disgusting. It just hasn't been washed in a while. But we did a portrait of me and the boys, and he wanted Quimsicle in the picture. And I was like, sure, dude. Yeah. We put him on the ladder. He was the star of the show. And it was in my head, I'm like, I want to know that Quimsicle existed, because I'm trying to think back to my oldest. And I'm like, how do you tell yourself you'll remember it, but you don't.
No,
I truly don't remember so many things.
We don't even know how many things we've forgotten. And that's the beauty of capturing it photographically, is that memory and that reminder will always be there.
Yes. Yeah.
feel
I
like we
love
should
that.
have like some music playing now, and like we just did an ad for somebody. I don't know. It
Or-
was totally
or-
unintentional.
Yeah.
Well, tell me. Okay, where can people go to find you, Anj? Where are you at? Like, what's your online details?
I am on Instagram at Lav and Lime, LAVANDLIME. I'm on Facebook, but I'm not. I mean, I am, but I'm not. Facebook has become a
No.
random post here and there.
Yeah. Facebook has become a lot of things.
Yes, I would love to be on TikTok, but honestly, I don't know. Me,
I'm terrified
I always
of
thought
TikTok.
I was cool, but TikTok is beyond me.
No, way beyond. It just makes me feel so old and decrepit. So I don't.
Yes, I mean, even reels make me feel old, which I've done one reel and it wasn't. I mean, I didn't do any of the fake voices. I didn't.
Yeah,
I don't know.
all the stuff.
Yeah.
Well, this was good. It was. You did a really good job at discussing like deep things in a way that's approachable, and I appreciate that.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I wouldn't be able to do it if I wasn't comfortable talking to someone. So this is great.
Thank you for joining me, and I look forward to the next time that, because we saw each other at WPPI. That's kind of how this happened. I look forward to the next time that we can all be together in person.
Oh, I can't wait. That was such a joy to just see everyone and laugh and be silly.
It was a lot of fun. Well, until the next time, thanks again.
Thanks, Jed. Bye.
Hey guys, thanks for watching this conversation presented by White House Custom Color on YouTube. Be sure to check out our other content and click that subscribe button right there. Right there. It's there somewhere.